Euromaxx highlights. Coming up on the show... Exceptional. Julia Fischer is an extremely talented young musician. Unusual. Galleries in Berlin and Paris exchange exhibits. Memorable. The British Museum is 250 years old. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
And a very warm welcome to the show. Rome is a city that has inspired many writers and poets to keep a diary, and now there's a new one published in picture form. This photo diary is being created by the German photographer Christoph Blech and shows a different side to the eternal city, a personal, more spontaneous view of the Italian capital.
A pair of dancers perform for shoppers at the Campo dei Fiori, one of the most famous markets in Rome. German artist Christoph Blech captured the moment and atmosphere with his camera.
It's just fantastic what you can see here and what comes together. I tried to capture this in my book. Not just the monuments, but how Rome is used by the citizens. It's like one huge stage in a theatre.
Blech's photos of Rome have been collected in a book entitled Roman Photographic Diary. The artist has selected 330 images documenting 330 days in the life of the city. It's a unique view of the eternal city, one day at a time. He started the photo diary in 2006 while he was a student at the Villa Massimo on a German academy program for gifted artists. He went out and began collecting impressions of the city and filing the images in a digital archive. The idea for the diary was born.
I went around the city every day with a little camera. I took about 30 or 40 pictures in different places. In the evening, I loaded them onto my computer and chose one from the pool to be the photo for that day.
Christoph Blech uses a fairly standard digital camera. His photos are less about technical quality and more about tales of the city. They're filled with small details waiting to be discovered. The images range from the bizarre to the thought-provoking. Joachim Blüher, the director of the artist's residency program at the Villa Massimo, helped oversee the project.
It's a photo book, but it didn't start out as that. It was intended as something private, a challenge. Prove yourself to yourself with a good photo each day, not just any old image. This approach produces outstanding images because it isn't just for the audience, but for oneself.
In addition to his diary, the 44-year-old artist also has other projects in Rome. Among them, his video project, Punto. For this, he installed a camera on the back of a car and then drove through the streets of Rome.
What was interesting about the project was that the reflections pulled together at a certain point. Rome suddenly came into focus and then disappeared. Punto means point in Italian, so the project made sense.
Everyday life in Italy, tales of a city that's both fleeting and eternal, a city of contrasts. Those are the themes that inspired Blech's work.
There's this constant movement flowing through the landscape of the old city. Sometimes the movement is held up or movements collide, but there's always something happening. It's explosive, and there are so many interesting stories you can grab.
Blech's Roman photographic diary is like a stroll through the city. The artist wants those who look at his work to be reminded that there are things you can change, but also things that should just be enjoyed. The life of Rome and its people, captured by Christoph Blech in photographic images.
The British Museum in London is celebrating its 250th anniversary. 2.5 centuries ago, hardly anybody travelled abroad, so the museum was the only contact that most people had with the outside world. From its very beginnings, the museum attempted to bring the whole world together in one building, and its vast collection still plays a part in shaping our understanding of human history.
It's the oldest museum in the world. On the 15th of January 1759, the British Museum opened to the public for the first time. Nowadays, some 6 million people from all around the world flock to this British institution every year. The museum has more than 7 million artifacts. Only a selection is exhibited. It's a journey through the history of mankind.
You get a feel for the entire historical period of mankind. And clearly with all the artifacts here, this will stay around for a while.
It all began in 1753, when the wealthy doctor Hans Sloane donated his extensive literature and art collection to the state. His aim was to allow ordinary people to experience foreign cultures and customs, even those who had few opportunities to travel. 6 years on, the museum opened its doors for the first time. The world's first museum belonging to the public and not to the crown.
It was one of the important founding principles of the museum that it should be there free for the use of the public. That's actually, that phrase is used in the original founding charter. We do strongly believe in the educational importance of the museum. I mean, people can come here and do anything they want. Of course, that's absolutely fine. They can come here and meet their girlfriend, have a cup of coffee, but we all hope that they will come away having learned something or thought about something in a different way.
The Egyptian mummies are one of the museum's most famous collections. The centerpiece is the mummified body of Cleopatra the Great. A further attraction, the Rosetta Stone, dating back to 196 BC. In December 2000, a new courtyard design was added. The glass roof was created by one of Britain's leading architects. Sir Norman Foster transformed an unassuming courtyard into Europe's largest covered public square, with a bookshop, cafe and restaurant. This is one museum that manages to change with the times.
People bring their own technology with them. The museum will be using more technology to help them understand what's going on here. But I'm sure just as now we remain true to the principles 250 years ago, the museum will remain true to those principles in the future, that it's a place for people to come and understand more about themselves and the societies they live in.
In its anniversary year, the British Museum is opening 4 new exhibition halls and is still planning further expansion, getting itself in shape for the next 250 years.
Now to a seriously talented young lady. Julia Fischer is just 25 years old, but she's already one of the world's top classical violinists. And she's well on the way to becoming a top pianist as well. She's also a professor of music and indeed does as much teaching as her busy schedule permits. Luckily, she also found time to speak to us.
Julia Fischer plays Camille Saint-Saëns' Violin Concerto No. 3. Her interpretation is somber and expressive. She's one of the most accomplished and successful violinists on the contemporary scene.
My greatest source of inspiration is the music itself. That's why I'm extremely careful about what concerts I agree to do, who I perform with, which orchestra, and these days even which venues. If I have a fantastic orchestra and a fantastic conductor, and I get to play fantastic music with an appreciative audience, I hardly need more inspiration than that.
Julia Fischer first took up music at the age of 4, playing the violin and the piano. At the age of 9, she passed an entrance exam for the Munich Academy of Music. She soon began winning awards.
I was a very happy child, quite cheeky too. But of course I practiced every day and spent a lot of time playing music. Later I spent all my time on music, but that was because I wanted to. No one forced me into it. It was my own wish.
At the age of 12, Julia Fischer celebrated her first international success with the violin. But she also remained true to her other passion, the piano. Her greatest wish was to play Edvard Grieg's piano concerto in A minor.
The cadenza in Grieg's piano concerto was what I always wanted to play, even as a child. I had a recording of Sviatoslav Richter that I listened to every day as a child.
Und ich habe die erst jeden Tag ein und Tag ausgehört.
In early 2008, Julia Fischer made her official piano debut in Frankfurt, performing Grieg's concerto.
So ein bisschen gesangvoller. Direkt.
In addition to performing in numerous concerts, Julia Fischer has been teaching at the Frankfurt University of Music and Performing Arts for the past 3 years. The atmosphere in the class is relaxed but professional. Her students aren't much younger than she is, but she has plenty of advice for them.
Just a tip, don't focus desperately on trying to stay in time.
She also regularly spends time teaching in Switzerland, where some 40 children and young people come for a week's course during the school holidays as part of a special program.
Bin ich musikalisch jetzt nicht so überzeugt, das mehr zu spielen, ehrlich gesagt, weil
Julia Fischer was only 15 when she gave her first lesson and has always been eager to pass on her love of music. Julia Fischer is only 25 years old, and she seems to have achieved everything. Her new CD featuring Bach sonatas has just appeared in the shops, and now she's off on a new tour.
Berlin has in recent years become a melting pot for young artists and is one of the in places for contemporary art. Right now, the city's full of works by French artists as part of a cultural exchange between the French and German capitals. In February, Berlin artists will be exhibiting in Paris, but first let's see some of the French works on display here.
Here on Pariser Platz by the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, the City of Lights looms large. 13 Paris galleries are in town. It's a festival to foster a new Franco-German art axis. We're at the French Embassy. The original idea for a gallery exchange came from Ambassador Bernard de Montferrand. In February, Berlin galleries will make the trip to the Seine.
Our politicians meet very often. But I believe it's even more important for the societies to communicate and understand each other's culture. The contemporary arts are a particularly important key to understanding our neighbors.
Jan Wentrup is currently hosting the fashionable Paris gallery Kamel Manour. On display are works by 5 French artists. This animated film is by Christine Rebet. Jan Wentrup is lending out his premises to his French colleague for 10 days. Profits and risks are shared. The standout work of the exhibition is a neon light installation by Claude Lévesque. Its price tag is some 45,000 euros.
Our idea, in fact, it's really to show these works of artists who don't have any galleries in Berlin yet. So it's like a link, it's a first link. And it's a new way also of exchange. I mean, it's something more interesting and more deep than to show only on an art fair.
The photographic art of Marie Beauvau is virtually unknown in Germany, but that's set to change.
What excites me about the exchange with Kamel Mennour is intensifying our work together. We've known each other a long time, and now there's the chance to intensify our cooperation using this test balloon.
Christian Nagel's gallery likewise has a Parisian tenant at the moment, the In Situ Gallery. Fabienne Leclerc and Christian Nagel deal in contemporary painting. Unusually, the artists are present. Damien Deroubet is one, and he's a big fan of Berlin.
I find the art scene in Berlin a lot richer. You meet a lot of good artists and curators, and I just like that.
Berlin has a hip reputation, while Paris has a more classic image, as reflected in the works comprising the 1900 to 2000 gallery show. But the exchange project is not so much about reinforcing clichés as breaking them down.
I wasn't expecting so many Parisians to come to Berlin. There's a lot of local interest. People are really curious. We've seen big-name collectors and museum directors, and different generations as well.
The official party is a chance for a meeting of minds, gallery owners, artists, nightclubbing culture vultures. It's a celebration of a new partnership in the arts between the two cities, with plenty of French champagne.
Now, we're not short of snow and ice here in Northern Europe, and for one extreme winter sport, this is a very good year, ice climbing. We're off to the Swiss canton of Bern, where there's an ice climber's paradise just outside the small town of Kandersteg. Our brave and intrepid reporter Matthias Stamm decided to have a go himself and found out that it is fascinating, exhilarating and very exhausting.
The best ice climbers from across Europe gather every year in Kandersteg, and they attract plenty of onlookers when they practice their special climbing skills. Ice climbing is a major trend in the world of extreme sports. Our reporter is eager to find out what it's all about.
It's a sunny winter day. We have around -1, -2 degrees Celsius, so it's just cold enough that the ice is not melting. Behind me there's the wall where the challenge takes place here, but I'm not going to get up this wall because I'm here to learn about the real fascination of ice climbing. That's why I'm going into the Alps just in a couple of minutes, and for that I need the real equipment first.
The right equipment is crucial. It can mean the difference between life and death. Four-time world champion Markus Bendler has been climbing since the age of 11. He shows the novice climber how to attach the belt and axe to ensure optimal safety.
Okay, Markus, I heard that it's very exhausting to ice climb. How exhausting is it really, and am I going to make it?
I think so, I hope so. In the beginning, it's powerful. You know, if you don't know how to put the ice axe in the wall and how to stand with the feet, and you need a lot of power, a lot of endurance.
And then it's off into the Swiss Alps. The area around Kandersteg is an El Dorado of the ice climbing world. It's the best spot in Europe for amazing ice walls and ice falls, not to mention the incredible icicles.
These ice walls aren't just fascinating, they can be dangerous too, because the ice is changing its structure constantly, depending on temperature and sunlight. But Pedro, this one is safe, isn't it?
I think this one is safe. There is the right temperature, the right kind of humidity. The ice is elastic, it's not very too stiff like a glass, so today is completely safe.
So I can climb that mountain?
If you follow me, yes.
Okay, so let's do it.
Let's go.
Mustering all his strength, our intrepid reporter Matthias lodges his ice pick into the wall and pulls himself up. But it doesn't take long before the pain begins. Matthias is determined to reach the 15-meter point, and eventually, he just about gets there.
I just can't move my fingers.
He's exhausted, and he still has to get back down.
That was my first ice climb. Probably the most exhausting minutes in my life. I can't feel my arms, but it's incredibly fascinating. Climbing on ice, it's incredibly worth it, and it gives you definitely the ultimate kick.
And it's a kick our reporter can't wait to experience again. Combined with the amazing landscape, the adrenaline rush is addictive. Ice climbing can quickly become a way of life.
I think I could resist the temptations. Now, at the grand old age of 88, the German architect Gottfried BÄ should really be resting on his laurels, but he's still working and his architectural style is still changing too. In a career that has spanned over 6 decades, he started out working mainly with concrete, but in recent years he uses much more steel and glass, and all the help modern technology will give him.
The Hans-Otto Theater in Potsdam is one of many architectural masterpieces in Germany designed by Gottfried BÄ. Now his works are the focus of a major new exhibition in Cologne. Some 300 architectural plans, as well as photos and models, document his life's work.
Woran lag das, dass es einen Erfolg hatte?
What's the secret of my success? Probably my enthusiasm for what I do, which I've always had and still have today.
Besides being an architect, Gottfried BÄ is a trained sculptor, and it shows in his designs. Until the late 1960s, he worked mostly on churches, designing nearly 70 in all, more than almost any other architect. The Church of Pilgrimage in the West German town of Neviges is a prime example of his work. Completed in 1968, it sealed BÄ's reputation as a daring and creative architect. Later on, BÄ began to incorporate glass and brick into his designs. Since the early 1970s, he's designed everything from department stores to banks and public libraries. He says he doesn't really have a favorite among his designs.
What interests me most, of course, are the things that I've only just built or that I've just designed and have yet to be built, and I'm still very much involved with mentally.
Womit ich mit meinem Kopf noch am stärksten verbunden bin.
BÄ does not use a computer for his work. Even today, he sketches his designs on paper using charcoal. And he still has his office in a house built in the 1930s by his father, Dominicus, another well-known church architect. Architecture has become quite a family tradition. 3 of BÄ's 4 sons have taken up the profession.
It's not something I expected, but I'm certainly very pleased. It's great having them in the same line of work. They discuss my designs too and correct me sometimes, as they should.
The 4 family architects work in the same building, pursuing separate projects. BÄ's sons say having their father as a role model has been very helpful.
I think that one of his great strengths has always been that even with larger buildings and large-scale projects, the people concerned have remained his focus. And you can see that both in the overall result and in the detail. That's something I'd like to continue.
But Gottfried BÄ says he has no plans to retire yet. At the age of 88, he still goes to work every day.
When you're planning something specific that you want to see built, it really keeps you on your toes. And that's what makes my job different. And thankfully, I still find that fun. What else would I do otherwise?
Was soll ich denn auch sonst machen?
In recent weeks, Gottfried BÄ has been involved in setting up the exhibition, selecting drawings, photos, models, and even some of his sculptures. This is the first time that works from his earlier career as a sculptor are going on public display, revealing hidden depths to this multi-talented and popular architect.
If you want to see any of these reports again, just go to YouTube, Deutsche Welle English, and you should find them. That's all for now, though. Bye-bye.